Hello everyone, we are Tutorial 2 Group 1, and today we'll discuss about the Tutorial 7's questions. Our group mates are Farah Hafizan binti Sahruddin, Herming Jie, Kisha Anna Prahban PK Balan, Chu Yiqian, and Yutao.
So for question 1, say that AirAsia has the following cost appreciated with a Kuala Lumpur Cool to Penang PN flight. So the item and the cost. Pilots and cabin crews is 4,000 ringgit. Plane daily depreciation is 2,000 ringgit. Fuel is 1,000 ringgit. Plane's daily insurance is 2,000 ringgit. Penang International Airport's landing fee is 1,000 ringgit. AirAsia has an average of 80 passengers, paying an average of 100 ringgit for this flight. Do you think that AirAsia should be flying between two cities? Evaluate from a short-run perspective. Firstly, you have to count the total accounting profit, which is 80 passengers times RM100, and you will get RM8,000. Next, you have to count the total economic cost, which is RM4,000 plus RM2,000 plus RM1,000 plus RM2,000 plus RM1,000, which equals to RM10,000. Lastly, you have to count the total economic loss, which is profit minus the cost. RM8,000 minus RM10,000, and you will get negative RM2,000. The negative sign shows that it is an economic loss. Therefore, in short-run perspective, AirAsia should continue flying between the two cities. In the short run, a firm has one or more inputs whose quantities are fixed. That means that in the short run, the firm cannot leave the industry. Even if it cannot cover all of its costs, including both its variable and fixed costs, going entirely out of business is not an option in the short run. The firm may close its doors, but it must continue to pay its fixed costs. It is forced to accept an economic loss, the amount by which its total cost exceeds its total revenue.
The second question is, why do high fixed costs force the company to shut down temporarily or shut down forever? If a company finds that the revenue it earns from the output it produces and sells does not even cover its fixed costs, then the company will force to shut down. For example, oil wells are shut down if the price of oil does not cover the fixed cost of oil production. Shutdowns are often temporary until economic conditions and revenues expand to cover the fixed costs. If economic conditions do not improve, however, a company may be forced to shut down forever because it cannot cover the high fixed costs.
Now, thanks Yiqian, and now we'll continue with question 3. Unlike Malaysia, the rice market in Thailand can be characterized as purely competitive industry. How might the following events affect the short-run cost curves and output for rice producers in the industry? Discuss how will affect the profit of individual rice producer. This question divided into 3 cases. Case A, a reduction in the cost of fertilizer. Case B, the property taxes for rice manufacturing increases. Case C, the market price of rice increases. In order to solve this question, we need to understand the characteristics of pure competitive market. The first one is very large numbers of sellers. And second one is the standardized products, means that all the productions are the same. And third one is the price takers, means the rice producers are not the price makers, they are price takers, means they can only receive the price given by the market. And the fourth one is easy enter and easy exit, means no barrier for the market. And now we will discuss the case A, a reduction in the cost of fertilizers. As we all know, the fertilizers must be used in each unit of rice when the rice producer grows the rice. So the cost of fertilizer is the variable cost. Based on that, we can know that if the cost of fertilizers decrease, means that the average variable cost will also decrease. In the graph, it shows that the AVC curve shifts from AVC0 to AVC1. And because of that, the average cost will also affect it. So the average cost will also decrease. In the graph, we can say that the average cost curve, AC curve, shift from AC0 to AC1. And for the marginal cost, it will also decrease because for each unit of rice, it needs less money to grow. So the marginal cost will decrease. In the curve, in the graph, the MC curve shift from MC0 to MC1. The total cost and the total variable cost are also affected because of the average cost and average variable cost changed. So in here, the total fixed cost curve remain, but the total cost and total variable cost decrease. So in the graph, the TVC curve shift from TVC0 to TVC1, but the TC graph also shift from TC0 to TC1. And for the output, in my opinion, because the question is about the short-run output, so I think it's impossible for the rice producer to rent or buy more fields to grow rice. So the output will remain. But for the profit, the total revenue remain, but the total cost decrease. So the profits go higher. And now we can move to case B, property taxes for rice mill factory on increases. First, I will introduce what is the rice mill factory. As we all know, the rice producer, after growing the rice, the rice has a shell outside. So the rice producer need to send the rice to the rice mill factory to peel off the shell of the rice, and after that, they can send the rice to the market. So the rice mill factory is the factory that renting the machine that for peeling off the shell of rice. Based on that, we can analyze the case B. As we know, for each unit of rice, the rice all need to be peeled off, and so it is a variable cost for the rice producer. And because the tax for the rice mill factory only increases, so the price of renting the machine will go higher. After that, the rice producer's variable cost will increase. So we can analyze the question by graph. The average fixed cost will still remain, but the average cost was affected because the average variable cost increased. So in the curve, we can see the AVC curve and the AEC curve both moved. AVC curve shifted from AVC0 to AVC1, but the AC curve shift from AC0 to AC1. And for the MC curve, because for the marginal cost, they also increase because for each unit of rice, the money that for peeling off the shell go higher, so the marginal cost go higher. In the graph, the MC curve moved from MC0 to MC1. And now we can move to case C. The market price of the rice increases. So when the price of rice increases, it will based on the law of supply, it will encourage more people to be the rice producer. So the output must go higher. But for the short-run cost curves, I think will not change. It will remain because the two characteristics, technology and price of factors of production technology that cause a shift of curve don't change. This means that the market price will not affect the cost of growing rice. So the cost curves will remain. But for the profits, because the total revenue go higher, but the total cost remain. So the profits, total revenue minus total cost will increase.
Question 4 is, how will the marginal and average cost curve of the typical tire dealer shift or change as a result of the following events? A. An increase in wages of all mechanics. Wages means the money paid to the mechanics and it categorized as variable cost. So, when the variable cost increase, average cost also increase at the same level. This is because average cost equal to the sum of average fixed cost and average variable cost. From the graph, we can see that the AC curve also shifts up from AC0 to AC1. Marginal cost, which is MC, also increase and the curve shifts up from MC0 to MC1 because it needs more cost to produce an extra output. B. An increase in the rental payments on hydraulic floor jack. Rental payments is one of the type of fixed costs, so when rental payments increase, average fixed cost will increase. From the graph, we can see that the curve of average cost, which is AC, shift up from AC0 to AC1 due to the increasing of the rental payments because average cost is equal to the sum of average fixed cost and average variable cost. The curve of marginal cost is remain unchanged because fixed costs do not affect it. C. A technological advance in floor jack. Advance in technology can help the tire dealers to increase the productivity. This can lead the fixed cost spread into more outputs and average fixed cost will decrease. Technology advance lower down the average cost, which is the sum of average fixed cost and average variable cost. So the variable cost will reduce and the AC curve will shift down from AC0 to AC1, while the curve of marginal cost also shift down from MC0 to MC1. D. An increase in sales and services taxes (SST). SST charged by the government cause the price of raw materials used by tire dealers increase. So, the variable cost increase due to the increase in price of raw materials. This caused the average cost, which is the sum of average fixed cost and average variable cost, will also increase and the AC curve shift up from AC0 to AC1. The curve of marginal cost also increased because more cost needed to produce an extra tire. E. An increase in property taxes. Property taxes is categorized as fixed cost, so when fixed cost increase, average cost also increase and the AC curve shift up from AC0 to AC1. The curve of marginal cost remain unchanged because it does not affected by fixed cost.
Question 5. Explain why a firm might continue to operate in the short run even though they are earning an economic loss. Most people will want to close down if the firm does not get any profit but face economic loss. But this action is hasty. Take note that at the early stage of a production, it is common to have low in marginal product. This is because marginal product cost is unusually high. In such a situation, revenues from production will not cover variable costs and losses will increase. As you can see in figure 8.4, which shows the case in which some production is appropriate. The output Q star at a point where short-run losses are minimized. It is cheaper to operate at Q star rather than not to produce any output because P is greater than ABC at Q star. Each unit produced generates more revenue than cost, thus it is profitable to produce than to shut down. From the graph, the area AEFG measures the additional profit that can be earned by producing at Q star rather than at O, since the difference between price and ABC is AE. We can see this another way, that the difference between ATC and ABC is AFC. Thus, in figure 8.4, line BE represents the AFC and rectangle CBEF represents the TFC in production. When the firm produces no output, its loss is equal to its TFC or CBEF. But when it does produce at Q star, its loss is reduced to ABCD. As a conclusion, the competitive firm produces no output if P is smaller than minimum point on ABC. When it does produce, it maximizes profit by choosing the output level at which P is equal to MC. At this output level, Profit is positive if P is greater than AC. The firm may operate at a loss in the short run. This firm might operate at a loss in the short run because it expects to earn a profit in the future as the price increases or the cost of production falls.
Okay, now let us move to question 6. Question 6 is assess the arguments for the against and the patterns in terms of creative destructions. Use the vaccine for COVID-19 as an example. First of all, we need to define what is creative destruction. Creative destruction, in short, means innovation and reform have caused a group of people lose their original jobs and economic sources, but they also have caused the rise of new industries and working methods. Actually, it's just a phenomenon that some industries out of date and some industry became stronger. So it's all about innovation. And let us use vaccine for COVID-19 as an example. First, for those who are against the patterns of vaccine for COVID-19, maybe first of all, maybe they are feared that the companies which have the patents of a COVID-19 vaccine can hold the world hostage and demanding and monopoly prices. Means the company which has the patents of COVID-19 vaccine will be the price maker, and it can give a high price. And those patients that need to use the vaccine, or those people that need to use the vaccine, cannot get the vaccine because of the high price. So those people are afraid of this. And the economics also told us that the exclusive rights provided by a patent makes the patent holder a monopolist over the innovation, and the monopolist reap the monopoly profits, and they sell at a high price by restricting the production. So this is why a lot of people are against the patents, because they are afraid that those people in need can't use the vaccine. But it seems like this is an disadvantages of the creative destruction, because the core technology or techniques are mastered by few peoples. And for those who support patents of vaccine for COVID-19, first of all, they think the patents way will be more fair, because the companies will invest a lot of money to invent the vaccine for COVID-19. So if they have patents, they can be the price maker, and then it will be more fair for the market. So and the second one is that the patents are not absolute. All the countries have bust the patent monopoly by compulsorily taking a lesson to the innovation. It means that each government of the countries all over the world have the rights to force the patents company to give the invention to the government in a reasonable price. If the patent is really emergency, I mean. And obviously, the vaccine for COVID-19 is an emergency one. For example, the Australia has a crown use provision in its patent and allows the government to make, use, and sell a patent invention for the services of the Commonwealth or the state. So it means that all the government has the right to control the price. No need to worry about it. And the third one is that a patent is a two-sided bargain. In return for obtaining a time-limited monopoly, the inventor must disclose the invention so that others know how to make it. Where there is no patent, there may be no disclosure, and the inventor can instead keeping information secret. So if the companies can have the patent, they can let others know how to make the vaccine. It will be more good for other poor people that can't invent the vaccine. So this is why a lot of people support patents of vaccine for COVID-19. This is all from us. Thanks for listening.